We've all felt it, that fleeting sense of relief when someone gives us their word, a promise wrapped in reassurance. For a moment, we breathe easier, believing that things will unfold as they said they would. But then, reality strikes. Their actions tell a different story, one of neglect, indifference, or even deliberate deceit. That initial reassurance crumbles, replaced by a gnawing sense of doubt. Was it an oversight, a misunderstanding, or something far more calculated? This gap between words and actions isn't just carelessness. It's a subtle form of manipulation. And when they refuse to acknowledge it, twisting reality, making you question your own judgment, it transforms into something darker, gaslighting. It's a psychological chess game where they hold the board and you're left wondering if you imagine the moves. People resist this truth because it forces them to confront the fragile nature of trust, the weight of accountability, and the hidden power struggles in their relationships. But pretending it doesn't exist only tightens the noose of deception. Before we dive deeper, let me share with you a story, Sarah's struggle. Sarah had been dating Mark for 2 years, and in that time, he had perfected the art of saying all the right things. With a warm smile and effortless charm, he would whisper reassurances that felt like promises carved in stone. "I'll always be there for you," he'd say, his voice laced with sincerity. And Sarah wanted to believe him. She needed to believe him. But words are weightless without action, and when life tested his commitment, Mark was nothing more than a ghost. When Sarah fell sick with a relentless fever that left her bedridden for days, she waited for his knock at the door, his concern in a late-night call, anything. Instead, her phone remained silent, save for the occasional, lukewarm text, "Hope you feel better soon." When work became a battlefield of stress, deadlines crushing her like a slow-moving avalanche, she longed for his support. But Mark was always busy, always caught up with something. His presence an illusion that vanished when she needed it most. The first few times, she convinced herself it was just bad timing. But when the pattern repeated itself, excuse after excuse, absence after absence, doubt crept in like a slow poison. And when she finally found the courage to confront him, his response was swift and dismissive. "You're being too sensitive. I'm doing my best." His words lingered, twisting like a knife. Was she overreacting? Expecting too much? Was she being unreasonable for wanting the same care and consideration she gave so freely? The self-doubt gnawed at her, eroding her confidence piece by piece. That was the cruelest part. Mark never raised his voice, never openly disrespected her. He simply made her question her own reality, gaslighting her with a calm, almost patronizing tone. It wasn't until she confided in a close friend, one who saw the truth she had been too exhausted to admit, that the fog began to clear. "Sarah," her friend said gently but firmly, "love isn't just words. It's action. And Mark, he's showing you exactly what you mean to him." The realization hit like a tidal wave. Mark's empty promises weren't just neglect. They were manipulation disguised as affection. And his refusal to take responsibility? That was the final proof that the love she thought she had was never real in the first place. Now let's get to the main points. Number 1. The illusion of integrity. Words versus actions. Words hold an undeniable power. They can uplift a weary soul, mend fractured relationships, and instill hope in the face of adversity. But what happens when those words are nothing more than empty echoes? When they float into the air with no intention of ever materializing into action? Consider the colleague who repeatedly assures you they'll help with a project, only to vanish when the workload piles up. Or the friend who swears they'll always be there, yet their presence is nowhere to be found in your moments of deepest need. Even more painful is the partner who, with a pleading voice, promises to change, only to fall back into the same cycle of neglect, dishonesty, or betrayal. This is the illusion of integrity, a carefully constructed facade where words paint a picture of reliability while actions tell a far darker story. The problem isn't merely the unfulfilled promise, it's the slow, corrosive decay of trust. Each time someone's actions fail to match their words, they chip away at the foundation of credibility, leaving behind doubt, frustration, and disillusionment. And once trust begins to erode, can it ever truly be restored? We are conditioned to believe in the sincerity of words. We want to trust. We want to believe that when someone says they care, they mean it. But when words and actions don't align, they leave behind a gnawing uncertainty, one that forces us to question not just the other person's integrity, but our own judgment. How many times will you excuse inconsistencies before accepting the truth? How long before you realize that words without action are nothing more than beautifully wrapped lies? Number 2, manipulation, the art of false promises. Manipulation thrives in the shadowy gap between words and actions, where intentions are murky and reality is distorted. It isn't always driven by malice. Sometimes, people manipulate without even realizing it, motivated by the desire to avoid conflict, maintain harmony, or sidestep uncomfortable truths. But whether born of deceit or mere passivity, the result is the same. Someone is left feeling misled, undervalued, and disillusioned. Think about that friend who always says, "Let's catch up soon," with a warm smile and eager tone, yet never follows through. At first, you give them the benefit of the doubt. Perhaps they're busy. But as weeks turn into months, you realize a painful truth. Their words were never a promise, only a convenient way to escape the moment. You start questioning your worth in their life. Are you a priority or just an afterthought? The sting of false expectations builds, leaving you to wonder, was it ever genuine? The danger of manipulation lies in its subtlety. Unlike outright betrayal, which wounds instantly, manipulation erodes trust over time, like water slowly carving away stone. Each empty promise chips away at your faith in others, making you hesitant to believe, to invest, to open your heart. And the worst part? When you finally confront them, they often respond with bewildered innocence. "Oh, I really meant to," as if intent alone should absolve them. But in the end, intentions mean little without action. A promise unfulfilled is not just a forgotten plan, it's a quiet betrayal. Number 3, gaslighting, the refusal to take accountability. Gaslighting isn't just manipulation, it's psychological warfare. It's the art of deception disguised as innocence, a calculated erosion of your confidence. It doesn't just make you doubt others, it makes you doubt yourself. Imagine confronting someone about their broken promises or shifting stories. Instead of an honest conversation, you're met with a dismissive chuckle. "You're too sensitive." Or worse, a cold stare paired with, "That never happened." Suddenly, the truth you were so sure of starts slipping through your fingers like sand. Gaslighting rewrites reality. It forces you to second-guess your own memories, instincts, and emotions. One moment, you're sure they contradicted themselves. Then, after their relentless denials, you wonder if you imagined it. Over time, this erodes your self-trust, leaving you trapped in a mental maze where every turn leads to doubt. Can you truly rely on your own judgment? Or are you the problem, just like they say? This insidious tactic is more than mere dishonesty. It's a form of control. It isolates you, making you dependent on the very person distorting your reality. You begin to silence yourself to avoid conflict, to minimize their reactions, to keep the peace. But at what cost? Your clarity, your autonomy, your inner voice, all sacrificed at the altar of their deception. Recognizing gaslighting is the first step to breaking free. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is. No one should have the power to overwrite your reality. Number 4. Why people don't want to hear this. Confronting manipulation and gaslighting is not just uncomfortable. It's unsettling, even terrifying. It demands that we strip away the comforting illusions we've built around certain relationships and face a truth we'd rather avoid. What if the people we trust are the ones distorting our reality? What if the love we cling to is conditional, laced with control and deceit? It's far easier to craft excuses. Maybe they're just stressed. They didn't mean to hurt me. I'm overreacting. These justifications serve as a shield, protecting us from the painful realization that someone we care about is exploiting our trust. But denial doesn't erase the problem, it feeds it. Each time we brush aside an inconsistency, let a dismissive remark slide, or silence the nagging feeling that something is off, we give manipulation more power. Over time, our self-esteem shrinks, our instincts dull, and our grip on reality weakens. The longer we tolerate emotional games, the harder it becomes to see the truth, and by then, the damage may already be done. Number 5. The power of accountability. Accountability is more than just a virtue. It's a shield against manipulation, a beacon of integrity, and the cornerstone of any healthy relationship. When you hold yourself accountable, you become immune to the subtle distortions of gaslighting and deceit. You reclaim your power, refusing to be led astray by half-truths and empty promises. But accountability isn't just about self-reflection. It's about ensuring others uphold the same standard. Imagine a friend who constantly promises to show up, but never does. At first, you might make excuses for them. Maybe they're busy, maybe they forgot. But over time, the pattern becomes clear. Do you stay silent and let resentment fester? Or do you address it directly? A simple, calm statement like, "I noticed you said you'd be there, but you weren't. Can we talk about what happened?" shifts the dynamic. It's not about accusation. It's about clarity, about fostering honest conversations rather than lingering in the discomfort of unspoken disappointment. True accountability builds trust. When people know that words and actions matter, respect deepens. Without it, relationships crumble under the weight of unfulfilled expectations. So ask yourself, are you setting the standard you expect from others? Number 6. Breaking the cycle. How to move forward. Breaking free from manipulation and gaslighting is not just about recognizing the problem. It's about reclaiming your power. It all starts with awareness. Have you ever felt like something was off in a conversation, but you couldn't quite put your finger on it? That's your intuition trying to warn you. Pay attention to patterns in your relationships. Are apologies followed by real change? Or are they just empty words designed to keep you hooked? Do the people in your life own up to their mistakes? Or do they deflect, minimize, or make you question your own perception of reality? Setting boundaries is not just an act of self-respect. It's a declaration that you refuse to be controlled. If someone continuously undermines your feelings, dismisses your concerns, or makes you feel small, you have every right to distance yourself. Imagine a friend who repeatedly cancels plans last minute, making excuses each time. One incident may be understandable, but when a pattern forms, it's a sign of disregard. Why should you keep investing in someone who doesn't value your time? Most importantly, prioritize your well-being. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, who speak with honesty, and who match their words with action. You don't need to beg for basic decency. You don't have to explain why you deserve respect. When you demand integrity from others, you set the standard for how you should be treated, and you finally break free. Conclusion: the path to authentic connections. Manipulation and gaslighting don't just exist in the shadows. They thrive there, feeding on doubt, fear, and silence. They twist reality, making you question your own perceptions until you no longer trust yourself. But the moment you bring these behaviors into the light, their power begins to wither. Awareness is the first step toward breaking free from the toxic cycle, but action is what ultimately dismantles it. And action is never easy. It takes courage to call out manipulation when your instincts whisper that something is wrong, but your mind hesitates, afraid of conflict. It takes resilience to walk away from relationships where words are smooth, yet actions betray them. But ask yourself, what's the alternative? A life spent second-guessing every interaction? A lifetime of emotional exhaustion, trying to decode someone else's ever-changing truth? You deserve better. Real relationships, the ones built on trust, respect, and mutual understanding, do not require you to shrink yourself, to silence your concerns, or to tolerate dishonesty. In these relationships, accountability isn't a rare event, it's the foundation. So let's make a pact, not just to recognize deceit when we see it, but to reject it, to demand honesty, and to surround ourselves with those who uphold integrity, not just in words, but in action. Because anything less isn't just unfair, it's unworthy of you.